Hi, I'm Macy.
And I'm Julie.
Welcome to Premium Perspectives, the podcast where we talk about insurance like it is the most exciting thing in the world.
Probably not the most exciting thing, but that's why we're here, to make it fun.
Yes, always to make it fun.
Always.
So, Julie, before we get into our guest, what have you been up to? What's going on at CAA?
So CAA, as usual, accounting's busy. But I did just get back from vacation, was able to spend a week at the beach with family and friends and enjoy some time in Galveston. And just getting ready for summer series, enjoying things. Yeah, can't wait.
Same here. Let's see, I turned 25 on July 7th.
Birthday girl.
Fun little birthday. And then, yes, July 4th was super rainy.
Yeah.
But we do want to take a moment just to recognize all the flooding that happened in central Texas over this past weekend, and just send our prayers and thoughts and condolences to everyone affected. It is devastating, and we are just so sorry. And we have a lot of stuff on our social media right now with resources, donation links, fundraising links.
Yeah, please
kinds
give
of things. But give your time, resources, prayers,
whatever you can.
It is.
They need help.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we definitely wanted to mention that. And then otherwise, I am just gearing up for summer series as our whole team is.
Yeah.
But we are so excited. So Unrivaled is next week in Dallas. And well, I don't know when this is going out, but it will be a great event. We're really excited. So we can't wait to see you all there. But today's guest, we have Carey Wallace from Agency Focus. Her and her daughter Lindsay are a wonderful powerhouse duo in the consulting independent agency channel. If you haven't checked out Agency Focus, you absolutely should. They are very well known in the industry, very successful. A lot of our agents use them at CAA.
For those who maybe don't know about Agency Focus, what they do is they are a consulting firm. They help independent agents see how valuable they really are by digging into areas such as their data, their insights, and just help them find whatever kind of growth they can have with their agency, help them make smart decisions, things like that, just to further their business.
Yeah, just evaluate, the health of your agency, get you where you need to be, have a plan in place.
Think about your future.
Yep. They even did a mergers and acquisitions workshop for our agents back in February, and there's a whole workbook on it. That was very helpful because, why turn a blind eye to something that is happening and is very relevant. So we wanted to stay informed about that, and they helped us out. So we're very excited to have Carey on today, and
can't wait to talk to her.
Right into it.
Hi, Carey. We're so glad to have you on today.
I'm excited to be here. Yeah.
We really appreciate you taking the time out of your day today to spend some time with us. So one of the main questions, this was not on the list, but we wanted you to share your story of how Agency Focus got started and what inspired you to launch this company.
Oh, wow. Well, thank you. Wow, I wasn't expecting that one. But so Agency Focus was started about 4 years ago. I guess it's 4.5 now. That's crazy. Time keeps ticking away, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But I had been in the industry for about 15-ish years, and I had been consulting with agencies, but I was part of a state association where I was their internal COO. I ran a data analytics company that the state association had created, and I was consulting with agents. And to be quite honest with you, that's 3 full-time jobs.
Yeah.
And 3 full-time jobs is a lot of work. And the more the data analytics company was growing, and I was speaking and I was traveling the country talking about it, and I firmly believe that data is incredibly important with agents, and I was very passionate about it. It took me further and further away from actually working with agents. And what I found was the thing that I loved most was getting in, working with agents, understanding their particular situation and helping them get from wherever they are to wherever they're trying to get to was the most rewarding thing for me. So I decided that I wanted to do that and chose to create my own company. Was really going to be happy if I had maybe, 15 clients a year, and I ended up having about 15 clients the first month. And I thought, oh, I guess this is going to work, you know? So
Yeah.
That's
and
amazing.
what's funny is one of the first people to reach out was AJ at CAA and said, "Hey, we'd love for you to do a webinar and talk about valuation and perpetuation planning." So when I was brand spanking new and just thinking about this idea, I was asked to come on a webinar, and you guys forced me to create my logo so I didn't come on that webinar and not have an email address that wasn't a Gmail account. So thank you,
Yeah.
CAA, for pushing me to make it happen. How about that? I
That's
bet you didn't
awesome.
know that.
Love
Yeah.
I love it.
love
Yeah.
that detail. Like that's so cool. But
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's a testament to how much of a powerhouse and consultant you are that
Yeah.
like our whole network was just ready to utilize you without a
Yeah.
logo, without a Gmail, but like
Yeah.
Yeah.
small,
It's pretty
humble
funny.
beginnings because now you
Yeah.
guys have blown up. And
Yeah.
I'm so
Yeah.
proud of you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the questions that we wanted to ask was, obviously a lot of perpetuation things that you talk about. What do we see happening in the world of M&A? I know you did a workshop actually at our February meeting surrounding this, and it was a very cool thing. You have a whole workbook on it. Um, that was awesome. You created it. It was great.
Thank you.
So yeah, what do we see happening in the world of M&A? And then what is driving agency owners to decide, that this might be the right time for them to sell, transition, next generation type things? Just tell us more on that.
Yeah, there's a couple of things. I mean, there's a lot of things that actually go into that. So what I see in the M&A marketplace right now is that it's fairly flat of what was happening last year. The announced deals are actually slightly down from what was last year, but the transactions that are not announced, there's a ton of smaller agencies that are still thinking this might be my high and this might be the time where I'm ready to exit. So the demographic of an independent insurance agency owner is about 56 years old, which means there's a fair number of agents that are approaching retirement that are thinking about the future. There are plenty that are past retirement age and continuing to work. So that's one thing that's driving it. It's an aging demographic of owners. Add that to the hard market, where it's changing the volume of work and the amount of work that's needed to be done in order to maintain your book of business. The challenges with getting markets and being able to place new business has put some strain on agents. And then this whole, COVID created this whole employment environment where people want to work from home. There's the great resignation. And then, whatever they're calling it today, there's this movement in the workforce. That's your biggest asset. And when you are a small business owner and lose some key people, that could also be something that's tough to recover from, especially adding those two together. More work, less people, or movement of key people has created some times where people are thinking to themselves, oh my goodness, this might be something that it's hard to overcome. And the last one being this push for automation, technology, thinking differently. If you're at the end of your career, all those things can be like, man, that's somebody else's problem. That's not my problem. So I think that's really the environment we're in. And there are some agents that are saying, we have innovated, we are positioned, and we want to grow by acquisition. And there's some saying, we're really not attracting talent because we don't have the technology for them to be successful in their role or as successful as they would be in other agencies. So it's really created this divide of those that might be positioning themselves to be acquired and those that are positioning themselves to acquire. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm sitting here thinking, like those agents that maybe like in some small towns, maybe their agencies aren't as big as others, they probably are kind of stuck in a little bit of a position where it could be difficult,
it is difficult. And, some of this sounds like judgment, but it's tough to wear a whole bunch of hats and try and fill these gaps and be able to position yourself to continue to grow. Think about it. The market is difficult. The staffing becomes a problem. That all falls back on the owner and them being able to have, they're working harder than they've worked in many years unfortunately, and that creates a lot of stress at the end of your career. So
Right.
yeah, it's a difficult situation for some to be
Yeah.
in, and then there's others that are very well positioned and willing and want to grow by acquisition. So, yeah.
Yeah.
And thinking what you said too about like the demographic being 56, like that's a time in your life probably where you've got like grandchildren or children and things that like you want to
Ready to explore other things.
have less, not doing 3 full-time roles like, you were doing at one point, but being,
Yeah.
so
Have a little more life, than just work. Yeah.
They might want a little life balance at that point. I will tell you, there's another factor that we don't talk about a lot that I think is important. You know, agency owners care about their community. They care about their clients. They care about their staff. I mean, it's one of the reasons I love this industry is the people and the difference they make in their community and how much they care. So for some, it's really tough to think about what would I do if I don't have this agency, because it's become their identity. Like it's become such a part of who they are. So, with all these pressures, then have this conflict of, but I don't know what I'd do with myself if I wasn't doing this. So it's an interesting dynamic that's created. When you get to that point in your career, you might be ready to stop. You might be working harder than you've ever worked in your life. And you might not know, like, but what do I do on Monday then?
Yeah.
Kind of a weird thing to wrestle
I'm
with.
sitting here thinking, what would I do if I retired?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big deal. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Okay, so let's dive into another one. So, are agencies that want to grow by acquisition actually able to compete with PE-backed buyers? And what are some of the biggest misses you see when it comes time for agency owners to sell or transition?
I love the question, can you compete with PE buyers? When we work with an agency, we ask them, if they come to us and say, hey, I'd really like a valuation, one of the questions I ask is, why are you getting a valuation? And they might say, I don't know if I'm ready to do something, but I think I might want to sell in the next 3 to 5 years. Okay. That's the ideal that they're planning ahead.
Right.
And if I ask them, what is most important when you sell? What do you think the answer to that question is 99.9% of the time? What is most important when I sell?
dollar sign.
I'm thinking something else. I'm not thinking money. I'm thinking like, is their agency going to continue? Like, is it going to not stay the same? But you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm trying to get at? It's like
Yeah.
they want to make sure that
Not gonna
their
run like a
agency is going to be like stable and continue on as it has been.
So we just said how much we love agents and how so connected they are in their community and how much they care about people. The answer that I get most often is I want to make sure that my customers are taken care of. I want to make sure that my staff that helped me get here is taken care of. And I want to make sure that my family's taken care of, which is the money part, Macy. But it is about people. So if you think about it, they're going to pick this buyer that's going to satisfy that. If the buyer is positioned to treat their staff and treat their customers the way that they want them to be treated, that could win out over someone who's paying a higher dollar price. So that's number one. And I think it's really important. If you want to be an acquirer, you need to be clear on what your value proposition is to a potential seller. And that relationship and what you bring to the table is very, very powerful. Listening to what's important to the seller and being honest about who you are as a buyer, you absolutely can compete. Maybe not dollar wise, but you can compete for that acquisition if you meet what their goals are. Number two, to that, there's a two-part answer to that question. You might not be the buyer in the same acquisitions that the PE buyer is. You know what I'm saying? Like PE aren't going to be interested in some smaller agencies. And so there's 40,000 independent insurance agencies in this country, and 83% of them are under 1.25 million in revenue. So that's a big number that is like close to just $1 million in revenue. And 50% of that they're under 500,000 in revenue. So PE buyers are not looking for the $500,000 revenue or $750,000 revenue. You definitely will be the buyer. An agency will be the buyer in those deals. I'm not saying agencies don't buy each other above a million.
Right.
Then it's about fit. It's about what's important to the buyer, what's important to the seller, what are those synergies. So don't always think about it as just competing with money. It's also competing on what's most important to that seller.
And the other one was, what are some of the biggest misses you see when it comes time for an agency to sell or transition internally?
The biggest miss is only talking to one buyer. I think that is the biggest mistake you could possibly make. You would never ever talk to one buyer when you're selling your house. You don't even talk to one buyer when you're selling something on Facebook Marketplace. You're talking to multiple people. Why in the world would you only talk to one buyer? You are going to sell at a discount. And if you have a nice size agency, you should use a broker in order to help you. If you truly know you're going to sell externally, you need to get some advice because they're going to help you figure out how to maximize that and make sure you get everything that you want. So I think that's the biggest miss is only talking to one and not getting your agency's financials and data in order before you go through the process. Do that 3 to 5 years in advance so you can maximize it and make sure that you put your best foot forward when you go through that process. Don't wait to go through the process and then figure out, oh, goodness gracious, my data is amiss and it might be, kind of like remodel your bathroom before you put your house on the market and enjoy it for a little bit rather than letting somebody else buy your house at a discount and then remodel that bathroom and flip it. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Same idea. So those two things, don't wait and don't just talk to one buyer.
Right.
Yeah, that's a great analogy.
Yeah. Do you see more selling outside the agent, or do you see more transitioning internally, like having someone already in-house, or both?
That's
Maybe it's 50-50.
Super great question. I see a lot of internal transitions. In fact, we have a lot of our clients that engage with us to work for several years. Number one, let's do the valuation. Let's project what that internal purchase is going to look like. And then I help them actually read their financials and become a business owner and understand the what it's like to run an agency, and be their sounding board when that exiting owner leaves so that, future owner has somebody to bounce ideas off of because they've never been in the driver's seat before. Yeah. So we actually see a fair number. So of my CFO clients last year, we had 4 internal transitions where we were working with the exiting owner and the future owner, and they actually handed the keys over January 1. So yeah, and I mean, that's 4 out of 40, and they just happen to be the timing, and there's probably 3 more of them behind them, which haven't actually made the transition yet. So there's a fair amount of agents that still want, there's so much in the news about multiples and external sales, but the reality is many agencies want to give this opportunity to someone else, just like it was given to them. And they want to have their name on the building, and they want it to continue in their community or continue in their family. I met an agency last week that was 5th generation. Like, I love working with internal perpetuation,
I love that.
Yeah. So, I mean,
that's awesome.
And there's a lot of agency to agency, which also doesn't hit the headlines. Nobody wants to talk about that. They want to talk about these external PE-backed multiples, and that's probably less than 20% of the transactions that happen. But that gets all the headlines, right?
Right.
Yeah, such a relational business.
It is. Yeah,
it is.
That really, the data makes sense. That comes through. Yeah. And then you kind of touched on this a bit, but what are a few things that our agents can do to strengthen the value of their agency?
Yeah. Well, this is something that every agency should do. Number one, have a perpetuation plan in place. And if you don't have a written perpetuation plan, you're creating ambiguity if something happens to you. There will be a pause and a delay for people to be able to react. And that delay is going to cause your staff to get nervous. Mm-hmm. It's going to cause your carrier relationships potentially to get nervous. It's going to cause some of your clients to get nervous because they're not sure what the future is. So number one, you will strengthen the value of your agency by having a written plan in place that states exactly what happens if the owner is not able to come to work, period. Oh. I would also say, look at the people inside your agency, and if anybody's a linchpin, cross-train. Figure out a way to cover that if that person doesn't show up to work tomorrow. Like, definitely put processes and procedures in place. Cross-train those key areas, because that just de-risks your agency. I would also look at your book. If you've got one producer or one of anything, that is a big majority of your agency. So that could be one account. It could be one producer. It could be one referral source. It could be one carrier. Whatever that is, let's take one account. Okay, if one account makes up more than 5% of your revenue, that creates risk. If that same one account makes up 20% of your revenue, even bigger risk, right? The more people that have relationships in that account, the better, because you want somebody to provide continuity that account's going to stay inside your agency. So look at your agency the same way you look at your client's risk and try to mitigate as much risk as possible by either spreading out the risk, figuring out a way to diversify the risk. If you have a producer that has a large book of business, make sure that the account manager and the producer aren't going to retire at the same time. Or if you are, split who's working on that book between two account managers that have generational differences, so you have continuity in the book. Like, there's things you can do in order to make sure you don't have this big gaping hole. Yeah. If that producer has an area of expertise that nobody else has, hire someone and train them to have that expertise so you don't lose something that you've built. It sounds super simple, but when you're running a business and your head's down and you're just doing these things, you don't realize that. And honestly, evaluation kind of brings those things to a light to say, hang on, here's what makes it risky. And here's the thing that could cause the ongoing performance of your agency to change. So here's some ways that you can mitigate it. You can't get rid of it completely, but you can certainly mitigate it and restructure or rethink how you're doing things in order to reduce the risk. Yeah. So those are some examples.
Yeah, I'm sitting here thinking my dad owned an independent agency forever. It was a transition type deal. The man passed away and my dad took it over, but it's been years. I mean, this is like, we're talking, in the 90s, before any of this, what you do was even into play to help agents perpetuate their agency. But I'm thinking, like, he had one account that was huge. It was a market basket grocery store chain. And it was probably, I would say, 20% or more of his books, which was like, if you lose this account, it's going to cause major damage. Yeah. And then looking at producers, I'm like, he had one producer that specialized in like shrimp boats. No one else in the office did that. So if you lose him, you're going to lose all of this too. So there's a lot that I'm thinking like, wow, we didn't have this back then, and it's so important for people to really look at this.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
The other thing is producer-owned books. Like, if you have producer or partially owned producer books inside your agency, it creates a complication when you go to sell the agency. The potential buyers now potentially negotiating with multiple people in order to get this deal, and just cleaning that up. You know what I mean? Like, a producer-owned book could be handled by a minority ownership in the agency, not just ownership in the book. That keeps the books together. It keeps the value together. It keeps the concentration of the book the way that it is. But if you have to pull that book out, it changes everything. Concentration of carrier, concentration of accounts, concentration of a niche, like all kinds of things. So producer-owned books, just take a look at it. Do you have contracts? Are they signed and dated and clear contracts of who owns what? And if it's not written down and there's ambiguity, you've created a risk inside your agency, and it's tough to know. And the buyer will need to know what they're buying. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
lots of things to think about. But again, all of this comes out when you have someone look at your agency to see the risk, which is evaluation. And I think every agency should get a health checkup, should get evaluation, and should have a perpetuation plan, because it's an asset. You should know what it's worth, and you should know what those risk areas are.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And I mean, we do those things in our own lives, like have a will, have insurance, different things, or just evaluate like things like that. What if this would happen? So, I mean, part of having a plan, but
That's
just
right.
having good health in your agency.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Last question. She's probably not ready for this one.
Yeah. But it's fun. So it's
fun.
something we ask every guest on our podcast, but it is, what is the best piece of advice that you've ever been given? And that could be personal, professional, both, whatever, everyone take it.
Oh, well, I was just asked this question, and the best piece of advice that I was ever given was given to me by my dad. And his advice was never pass up an opportunity to tell people how much you care about them.
Oh, I love that.
And I think, I try really hard to live my life that way. I try to tell people that mean something to me, what they mean to me, and don't let a day pass without saying that. So, yeah.
Very important.
I like that.
Yeah, I love that.
Great advice.
Well,
yeah.
Well, we
has nothing to do with financials. How about that?
No, it's good. Half of the ones we get have nothing to do with business whatsoever. So
that's funny.
We love those. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for having me on.
Yeah.
I love that you guys have created this podcast. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We're having fun with it. So
we will see you at Summer Series.
We will.
Next week.
Yes.
So excited.
Yeah.
Okay, what an awesome episode. Thank you so much to Carey for being on today. Please share their insight. They've got so much. Reach out to them. Check out their website.
Yeah.
Got amazing webinars. And rather just having them on, a Zoom call, we thought it'd be fun to be on a more interactive podcast. So thank you so much to both of them and their team. And now we want to shout out our sponsor, Market Retrievers.
Yes.
They're the best. Again, boutique marketing agency out of Nashville. Their team is awesome. They work with so many independent agents and carriers, brokers, so many different channels, and that they touch so many parts of the insurance world that they're a very valued partner of ours. And they happen to sponsor our podcast. So
love them.
Yes, love them so much.
Yeah.
That's your targets at marketretrievers.com.
That's right. Thanks for tuning in to Premium Perspectives. Until next time, stay curious,
stay connected,
and keep it premium.
Bye.